Chapter 1: The Contract. The boardroom. I had imagined my reunion with Cole Daniels 1,000 times. In my daydreams, it was always at some glittering gala. Him noticing me across the room, his steel-gray eyes locking onto mine with sudden, thrilling interest. Maybe he'd even smile, that rare, devastating curve of his lips I'd only seen in magazine spreads. Instead, I got a sterile boardroom and a marriage contract. I smoothed my cream blazer, my fingers trembling. The Williams and Daniels merger had been the talk of New York's elite for weeks. Two rival empires joining forces to save themselves from financial ruin. But no one knew the real condition of the deal. Marriage. 2 years of pretending to be in love with the man I'd secretly adored for years. The door swung open and Cole strode in, his sharp navy suit hugging his broad shoulders like it was tailored by the gods themselves. His dark hair was perfectly tousled, his jaw set in that infuriatingly confident way that made my stomach flip. God, he hasn't changed at all. Except now, instead of watching him from afar, I was about to sign my name next to his on a piece of paper that would make me his wife. The negotiation. Cole didn't even glance at me as he took his seat. His lawyer slid a thick document toward my father. 2 years, Cole said, his voice cool and detached. Public appearances, shared residence, no infidelity. After that, we dissolve the marriage with no financial entanglements. My father nodded. And the press. We sell the fairy tale, Cole replied. Happy couple, love at first sight, all that nonsense. Nonsense. The word stung more than it should have. Of course, to him this was just another business deal. I cleared my throat. And what if one of us meets someone real? Cole finally looked at me, his gaze like a physical touch. Sharp, assessing. Then we adjust. But for 2 years this marriage is exclusive. Pause. Then with a hint of challenge, unless you think you can't handle that? My spine straightened. I can handle it. Something flickered in his eyes. Amusement? Annoyance? Before he turned back to the papers. The signing. I signed my name with a flourish, my heart pounding so loud I was sure everyone could hear it. Stephanie Williams. Soon to be Stephanie Daniels. Cole signed next, his signature bold and decisive just like him. Our hands brushed as we exchanged documents. A spark, a jolt of electricity, but Cole didn't react. Of course he didn't. The aftermath. I lingered in the hallway after, watching Cole's retreating figure. Then I heard it. His best friend Alex clapped him on the shoulder. 2 years, man. You sure you can pretend to be in love that long? Cole's reply was ice. It's just business. No feelings involved. My breath hitched. I'd known this was a contract. A transaction. But hearing him say it out loud, that felt like a knife to the chest. Chapter 2. The Wedding of Convenience. The dress that felt like a costume. I stood in front of the floor-length mirror, adjusting the delicate lace sleeves of my wedding gown. The dress was a masterpiece. Ivory silk, hand-embroidered with tiny pearls, worth more than most people's cars. It was perfect. And it felt like a lie. My reflection stared back at me, a stranger playing the role of a blushing bride. The only thing missing was the joy. You look stunning, my mother said, dabbing at her eyes. Like a dream. More like a business transaction in lace, I thought bitterly. The door opened and my father stepped in, his expression unreadable. It's time. My stomach twisted. This was it. The ceremony, all show no heart. The ceremony was held at the Daniels' private estate, a sprawling property overlooking the Hudson. Every detail was meticulously planned. The cascading white roses, the string quartet, the guest list filled with New York's most powerful families. All for show. I walked down the aisle alone, my chin held high, my heels sinking slightly into the perfectly manicured grass. The guests murmured appreciatively, but all I could focus on was him. Cole stood at the altar, devastatingly handsome in his tailored black tuxedo. His expression was unreadable, his posture rigid, like this was just another board meeting. When I reached him, he offered me his arm. His touch was warm, firm, and completely impersonal. The officiant began speaking, but I barely heard the words. Do you take this man? I do. Do you take this woman? Cole's voice was steady. I do. No hesitation. No emotion. Then it was time for the kiss. Cole turned to me, his gaze flickering over my face like he was calculating the most efficient way to get this over with. He leaned in, his lips brushing mine, quick, perfunctory, over in a second. The guests applauded. I forced a smile. And just like that, I became Mrs. Stephanie Daniels. The reception, a performance for the cameras. The reception was a blur of champagne, hollow congratulations, and fake smiles. Cole and I sat at the head table, barely speaking. When the photographer asked us to pose for pictures, he dutifully wrapped an arm around my waist, his touch impersonal. Tilt your head toward him, the photographer instructed. Like you're in love. I obeyed, leaning closer. Cole's cologne, something expensive and woodsy, filled my senses. Perfect, the photographer said. Now smile like you mean it. I did. Cole didn't. Moving in, strangers sharing a penthouse. After the reception, we drove to Cole's penthouse in silence. His home was exactly what I expected. Sleek, modern, and impersonal. All sharp edges and cold surfaces just like him. Your room is down the hall, he said, loosening his tie. I had your things moved in earlier. Your room. Not our room. I swallowed. Thanks. He nodded and disappeared into his own bedroom without another word. I stood there for a moment, alone in the middle of a penthouse that didn't feel like mine, wearing a wedding ring that didn't mean anything. Then I took a deep breath and went to find my room. The first crack in his armor. The next morning I was in the kitchen making coffee when Cole walked in. He froze when he saw me, as if surprised I existed. Morning, I said, holding up the coffee pot. Want some? He hesitated, then nodded. Black. I poured him a cup, watching as he took a sip. His eyes flickered just slightly and I realized. You don't actually like it black, do you? A beat of silence. Then grudgingly, no. I hid a smile. How do you take it? Cream. 2 sugars. I fixed his coffee the way he liked it and handed it to him. Our fingers brushed. This time I swore I saw something flicker in his eyes. But then he took the mug and walked away without another word. The photo that changed everything. Later that day, while unpacking, I found an old photo tucked inside one of my books. It was from a charity gala years ago. One of the few times I'd actually spoken to Cole. In the picture we were standing near the bar, him in a tux, me in a red dress. He was smiling, really smiling, and I was laughing at something he'd said. I stared at it, my chest aching. He didn't even remember that night. Then I noticed something strange. The edge of the photo was torn, like someone had tried to destroy it. But why? Chapter 3, The Public Facade. The first public test. The New York Elite Magazine charity ball was our first official appearance as a married couple, and my stomach had been in knots all day. Cole hadn't spoken to me since the coffee incident 3 days ago, unless you counted the clipped, "We leave at 8" text he'd sent this morning. I adjusted the straps of my emerald green gown in the mirror, taking a steadying breath. Just get through tonight. Smile. Play the part. The bedroom door opened without warning and Cole stepped in, already dressed in a black tux that made him look like he'd stepped out of a Bond movie. His eyes flicked over me, lingering for half a second too long on the slit in my dress. Ready? He asked, his voice neutral. I nodded, grabbing my clutch. Do we have a game plan? His brow arched. For what? For us. I gestured between us. How are we supposed to act? Do we hold hands? Do we? Just follow my lead, he said, cutting me off. Right. Because that wasn't terrifying. The performance begins. The ballroom was a glittering sea of champagne flutes and designer gowns. The moment we stepped inside, every head turned. Cole's hand settled on the small of my back, warm and firm. For show, I reminded myself. But my traitorous heart still skipped a beat. Smile, he murmured, his lips barely moving. I forced one onto my face just as the first wave of well-wishers descended. Finally. New York's most elusive bachelor is off the market, gushed Margot Kensington, a socialite whose smile didn't reach her eyes. Cole's grip on me tightened, almost imperceptibly, as he gave a polite nod. Luckiest man in the room. The words were smooth, practiced. But when his thumb brushed lightly against my spine, my breath hitched. Stop overreacting. He's just acting. The whispered rumors. By the third champagne flute, I'd almost relaxed. Then I heard it. Purely a business arrangement. A woman's voice hissed near the cocktail table. The Williams family was desperate for liquidity. And Cole? He'd never marry for love. I froze, my fingers tightening around my glass. A deep voice cut through the murmurs. Problem, ladies? Cole. He stood behind me, his expression icy. The women paled, stammering excuses before scattering like startled birds. I turned to him, my cheeks burning. You heard that? His jaw ticked. Everyone did. Before I could respond, a camera flashed. A reporter from the Times smirking. Mr. Daniels, care to comment on the rumors your marriage is a sham? The room seemed to hold its breath. Cole's eyes locked onto mine, dark and unreadable. Then without warning he cupped my face and kissed me. Not the chaste brush from our wedding. This was deep, possessive, his fingers tangling in my hair as he angled my head to his. The room spun. I forgot where we were. Forgot this was pretend. When he finally pulled back, my lips were tingling. He didn't look at me. Just leveled the reporter with a glare. Any more questions? The man swallowed. No, sir. Cole steered me away, his grip on my waist unyielding. I was too stunned to speak. The aftermath. The car ride home was silent. I replayed the kiss in my head, my fingers pressed to my lips. It meant nothing. It was for the cameras. But then why did it feel like my entire world had tilted? Cole hadn't said a word since we left. Now, as the penthouse elevator doors closed behind us, I couldn't take it anymore. What was that? I blurted. He loosened his tie, his expression unreadable. Damage control. That wasn't just. Stephanie. He finally looked at me, his voice low. We had an audience. They needed proof. Proof. Right. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Well, it was convincing. Something flickered in his gaze, something hot and sharp before he turned away. Good. Then he disappeared into his room, leaving me standing there, my heart pounding. Liar, a traitorous voice whispered. That wasn't just acting. The missing journal. I barely slept. At 3 a.m. I gave up and padded to the kitchen for water. That's when I saw it. My journal, the one I'd kept for years, filled with every stupid secret thought I'd ever had about Cole, was sitting on the counter. Well, I always kept it locked in my nightstand. My hands shook as I flipped through it, panic rising. Had he? A page near the middle caught my eye. A passage from last year after I'd seen him at the Met Gala. He smiled at someone tonight and I wanted to claw their eyes out. God, I'm pathetic. He doesn't even know I exist. Beside it, in fresh, bold ink, was a single word. Wrong. Chapter 4. Every word. The journal. I stared at the single word written in dark, slashing ink. Wrong. My stomach dropped. Cole had read this. He'd read all of it. Every pathetic confession, every late-night fantasy, every time I'd scribbled his name like some lovesick teenager. I slammed the journal shut, my pulse roaring in my ears. This wasn't happening. Except it was. And he'd written in it. Like my feelings were some kind of negotiation to be corrected. I stormed down the hallway, my bare feet silent against the hardwood. Cole's bedroom door was slightly ajar, light spilling into the dark hallway. I didn't knock. The confrontation. Cole was at his desk, still in his dress shirt from the gala, sleeves rolled up to his elbows. He looked up as I threw the journal onto the desk between us. You read my journal. My voice shook. He didn't deny it. Every word. The casual admission made my breath catch. You had no right. I know. His gaze held mine, unflinching. Then why? Because you wrote about me for 3 years, Stephanie. He stood, his voice low. 3 years of you watching me, wanting me, thinking I didn't see you. He tapped the journal. You were wrong. The air left my lungs. He'd known. All this time. You. I swallowed hard. You remembered me. A muscle in his jaw twitched. The red dress at the Met Gala. The way you argued with that investor at the Windsor charity auction. The time you spilled champagne on your shoes and laughed instead of getting mad. His eyes darkened. I remember everything. My knees threatened to buckle. Then why pretend you didn't? Because it didn't matter. He stepped closer, his voice rough. You were a Williams. I was a Daniels. Our families would have burned the city down before they let us near each other. And now. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Silence. Then, now, he said slowly, we're married. They almost kiss. The air between us crackled. I should have walked away. Should have remembered this was just a contract. But his gaze dropped to my lips and every rational thought fled my brain. I leaned in. He didn't move. Our breaths mingled, the space between us shrinking. His phone buzzed violently on the desk. We jerked apart. Cole swore, raking a hand through his hair as he glanced at the screen. I have to take this. Reality came crashing back. Right. I backed toward the door, my face burning. Business. His jaw tightened, but he didn't stop me as I fled. The morning after. I avoided him for 2 days. It wasn't hard. Cole left before dawn and came home late, our paths never crossing. But on the third morning I walked into the kitchen to find him at the counter, coffee already brewing. We froze. Stephanie. His voice was carefully neutral. Cole. I busied myself with a mug, my fingers trembling. The silence stretched, suffocating. Then, you were wrong about something else too. I turned. What? He met my gaze, his own unreadable. You're not pathetic. My breath caught. Before I could respond, his phone rang again. He ignored it, watching me for one more heartbeat, then walked out. The X Factor. That night, Cole texted for the first time since the gala. Cole, Blackstone Gallery. 8 p.m. Wear the green dress. No explanation. I almost didn't go. But at 7:45 I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the emerald gown he'd apparently liked enough to remember. The gallery was packed when I arrived, all champagne and pretentious small talk. I spotted Cole near a massive abstract painting, deep in conversation with a stunning brunette in a backless black dress. His ex-girlfriend Natalia. I knew her instantly. She'd been splashed across every society blog for months, the only woman Cole had ever publicly dated. And she was touching his arm. I turned to leave. Stephanie. Cole's voice cut through the crowd. Every head swiveled to me. Natalia's smile turned razor-sharp. The wife. Cole ignored her, his eyes locked on mine as he crossed the room. Without a word he took my hand, his grip firm. You're late, he murmured. You didn't tell me it was a Natalia event, I shot back. His lips quirked. Jealous. No. Yes. He leaned in, his breath warm against my ear. Good. Because you're the only one I want here. My pulse skyrocketed. Then right there in front of everyone he kissed my temple, soft, possessive, real, and led me away. Natalia's glare could have melted steel. Cole didn't look back. Chapter 5. The breaking point. I knew something was wrong the moment I woke up to 12 missed calls from my publicist. The New York Post headline glared up at me from my phone screen. Marrying for money. Leaked contract exposes Daniels Williams' sham marriage. My stomach dropped. There it was, our entire 2-year agreement, every cold clause and financial arrangement, splashed across the internet for the world to see. The worst part. The timestamp. Signed one day after Cole kissed me at the Met Gala. The day I'd written in my journal, maybe he feels it too. I was halfway to the door when it swung open. Cole stood there, tie loosened, hair disheveled like he'd run here. Stephanie. I shoved the phone against his chest. You knew. His jaw tightened as he scanned the article. Not like this. Then how? My voice cracked. Was this your plan all along? Let me humiliate myself loving you while you... Stop. His hands gripped my shoulders. That contract was drafted months before we signed it. The date's wrong. I wrenched away. And I'm just supposed to believe that? For the first time since I'd met him, Cole looked lost. No. But I'm asking you to try. The whiskey truth. I didn't speak to him for 3 days. Then at 2:17 a.m. a knock. Cole stood in my doorway, a bottle of whiskey in one hand, his eyes darker than I'd ever seen them. Talk to me. I should have said no. I let him in. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, the silence stretching until he finally spoke. I didn't remember you at first. The admission stung more than I expected. But then, I prompted, my fingers tight around my glass. He took a long drink. But then I couldn't forget. The air between us charged. You read my journal, I whispered. Every night since you moved in. His gaze burned into mine. You think this is fake? Then why the hell does it hurt so much? The bottle clinked as I set it down. Prove it. Cole moved like lightning. 1 second he was across the couch. The next his hands cradled my face, his breath hot against my lips. Tell me to stop. I didn't. The fallout. We didn't sleep that night. Not sleeping wasn't the problem. The problem came at dawn when Cole's phone buzzed with a notification. Dad. Emergency board meeting. 7 a.m. Don't be late. He tensed beneath me. I already knew. They're pulling the deal. His thumb traced my bare shoulder. I'll fix it. You can't. I sat up, the sheets pooling around my waist. This was always the endgame, Cole. 2 years or 2 months. We were never meant to last. His fingers tightened on my hip. Says who? Says reality. I gestured to the window where the first rays of sunlight hit Manhattan's skyline. Our families hate each other. This merger was the only reason. Bullshit. He yanked me back down, his voice rough. You don't get to rewrite last night. Not when you know. A knock at the door. Mr. Daniels? Your car's here. Cole didn't move. I did. Go, I said softly, pulling away. Before you're late. His eyes searched mine. Then quietly, this isn't over. The door clicked shut behind him. I wasn't sure I believed him. The ultimatum. The text came at noon. Unknown number. Penthouse Terrace. 8 p.m. Come alone. I knew before checking the signature. Oh yeah. Of course it was. Chapter 6. The Other Woman. The Meeting. The penthouse terrace was bathed in golden twilight when I arrived, the city skyline glittering like scattered diamonds. Natalia sat at the glass table, sipping red wine as if she owned the place. She looked flawless as always, her black dress clinging to every curve, her dark hair swept over one shoulder. Right on time. She smiled, gesturing to the seat across from her. I wasn't sure you'd come. I didn't sit. What do you want? She sighed, swirling her wine. Always so direct. No wonder Cole finds you exhausting. The jab landed, but I refused to flinch. If you called me here to insult me, I have better things to do. Oh, Stephanie. Her smile turned pitying. I called you here to save you. She slid a manila folder across the table. I didn't touch it. Open it, she urged. Against my better judgment, I did. And my world shattered. The truth in black and white. The first page was a bank statement. A transfer of $50 million from Daniels Holdings to an offshore account. Dated 2 days before our wedding. The second was worse. A signed agreement between Cole and his father. Upon successful merger with Williams Corp., all shares will be transferred to Cole Daniels, per the original inheritance agreement. My hands shook. What is this? Natalia leaned forward, her voice dripping with faux sympathy. You think Cole married you for business? Sweetheart, he did it for revenge. I stared at her, my pulse roaring in my ears. His father cut him out of the will years ago, she continued. This merger was the only way to get his birthright back. And you? She laughed. You were just the easiest way in. The words hit like a physical blow. Because it made sense. Cole's sudden interest after my journal was discovered. The way he'd looked at me last night, like I was something precious, not just convenient. Had any of it been real? Natalia stood, smoothing her dress. He'll deny it, of course. But deep down. He patted my cheek. You already know the truth. Then she was gone, leaving me alone with the evidence of my own naivety. The confrontation. I didn't realize how long I'd been sitting there until the terrace doors slid open. Cole stood silhouetted against the penthouse lights, his tie missing, his sleeves rolled up. He looked wrecked. Stephanie. His voice was rough. We need to talk. I held up the documents. We are talking. His eyes dropped to the papers and his face went pale. Where did you get those? Does it matter? My laugh was hollow. Were you ever going to tell me? Or was I just supposed to play the happy wife until you got what you wanted? He stepped forward. It's not what you think. Then explain it to me. I slammed my hands on the table, my voice breaking. Because from where I'm standing, this looks like you used me. Silence. Then quietly, at first? Yes. The admission knocked the air from my lungs. Cole ran a hand through his hair, his jaw tight. But not anymore. What happened between us? Was what? I demanded. Real? Convenient? Another line item in your grand plan. His eyes darkened. You know it was real. Do I? I shoved the folder at him. Because this says otherwise. He didn't take it. Just stood there, his chest rising and falling rapidly. Then, I love you. The words hung between us, fragile as glass. I froze. Cole never broke. Never showed his hand. But now he looked terrified. You don't get to say that, I whispered. Not after this. He reached for me. Stephanie. I stepped back. I need time. Then I walked out, leaving him and the ruins of whatever we'd almost had behind. I didn't go home. Couldn't face that penthouse, that bed where just last night I'd let myself believe. Well, I ended up at my brother's downtown loft, where I promptly downed 2 glasses of bourbon and burst into tears. Lucas, to his credit, didn't ask questions. Just handed me a tissue and a third drink. So, he said finally, "You're leaving him?" I stared into my glass. I don't know. Because that was the worst part. Even now, after everything, I still loved him. Faith. My phone buzzed at midnight. Cole, I'm not giving up on us. I didn't reply. Another buzz. Cole, meet me tomorrow. 10 a.m. Our spot. Our spot. The little coffee shop near Central Park where we'd had our first real conversation as a couple. I squeezed my eyes shut. Did I trust him? Did I even want to? Lucas sighed, plucking the phone from my hands. Sleep on it. But as I lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, one thought consumed me. What if he's telling the truth? And worse, what if he's not? Chapter 7, The Final Stand. The coffee shop. I almost didn't go. But at 9:58 a.m. I stood outside the beanery, my stomach in knots. Cole was already there. He sat at our usual corner table, 2 coffees between us. One black, one with cream and 2 sugars. His fingers drummed restlessly against the wood, his shoulders tense beneath his charcoal gray suit. He looked up the moment I stepped inside. For a heartbeat we just stared at each other. Then he stood. You came. I crossed my arms. Start talking. The confession. Cole didn't sit back down. The money transfer was real, he said quietly. So was the contract with my father. My chest tightened. But it wasn't revenge. He met my eyes, his gaze burning. It was survival. He pulled out another document. A will, dated 5 years ago. His father had disinherited him unless he secured the family legacy by 30. The merger was my last chance, he admitted. But then I saw you at the signing and... His voice cracked. God, Stephanie, I knew I was screwed. I swallowed hard. Why? Because the moment I touched you, I forgot why any of it mattered. The air between us charged. I wanted to believe him. But... And Natalia? Cole's jaw clenched. She works for my father. What? He sent her to sabotage us, he continued. Those documents she showed you, they're real but they're half-truths. She left out the part where I turned down the shares 2 weeks ago. My breath caught. You've what? I told him I didn't want them. Cole stepped closer, his voice raw. Not if it meant losing you. I stared at him, my heart pounding. Was this real? Could I trust him? Then, Ms. Williams. A stranger in a suit approached our table, holding an envelope. For you. Cole went rigid. Who sent this? The man ignored him, already walking away. With trembling fingers I opened it. And froze. A single line typed in bold. He's lying. Ask him about the baby. The bomb drop. The world tilted. What baby? My voice didn't sound like mine. Cole paled. Stephanie. What? Baby. A muscle ticked in his jaw. Then quietly, Natalia's. The words hit like a punch to the gut. She's pregnant. She claims it's mine. His hands fisted at his sides. It's not. How can you be sure? Because I've never slept with her. I barked out a laugh. Bullshit. You dated for 6 months. And she cheated on me for 5 of them. He pulled out his phone, showing me a text chain with his lawyer. We got the paternity test results this morning. The kid isn't mine. My head spun. Then why? Because my father paid her to say it was. Cole's voice turned lethal. He'd rather have me look like a deadbeat than lose control of the company. I sank into a chair, my legs shaking. This was too much. The lies. The games. The baby. Cole knelt in front of me, his eyes desperate. I should have told you. But I was waiting for proof. I didn't want to hurt me. I finished bitterly. To lose you. His thumb brushed my cheek. I can't, Stephanie. Not now. Not after. His phone rang. That. Cole swore, rejecting the call, but not before I saw the notification beneath it. Board vote today, 12 p.m. Terminate merger? I stood abruptly. You have a meeting. I'm not going. Cole. No. He grabbed my hand, his grip firm. I'm done choosing them over you. The words should have melted me. Instead I pulled away. You need to go. Stephanie. Go. My voice broke. Before you regret it. For a long moment he just stared at me. Then quietly, this isn't over. He walked out and took my heart with him. The aftermath. I didn't follow the news. Didn't check my phone. Just sat in that coffee shop for hours, staring at my cold, untouched drink. Then my brother called. Turn on CNBC, Lucas said. Now. I fumbled for the remote behind the counter. The screen flashed to the Daniels Holdings headquarters, where reporters swarmed the entrance. And there, in the center of it all, microphones were shoved in his face as he stepped up to a podium, his expression grim. As of today, he said, his voice carrying across the room, I am resigning as CEO of Daniels Holdings. Gasps filled the room. My hand flew to my mouth. The merger with Williams Corp will proceed as planned, he continued, but I will no longer be part of it. A reporter shouted, Why? Cole looked straight into the camera, straight at me, and said, Because some things are more important than money. Then he walked out, leaving chaos in his wake. The ultimatum. My phone buzzed with a text. Cole, I meant what I said. I'm done choosing them. I didn't reply. Another buzz. Cole, meet me tonight. 8 p.m. Our place. Our place. The little park bench where we'd had our first real kiss. I squeezed my eyes shut. Could I do this? Could I trust him again? Then a third message. Not from Cole. From Natalia. Unknown number. He's not the hero he's pretending to be. Ask him what really happened the night of the gala. My blood ran cold. What was that supposed to mean? Chapter 8. 2 years to forever. The park bench. I almost didn't go. But at 7:55 p.m. I found myself standing at the edge of Central Park, the summer air thick with the scent of rain and freshly cut grass. Cole was already there. He sat on our bench, the one where he'd kissed me for the first time without an audience, without pretending. Where he'd whispered, This isn't part of the contract, against my lips. Now he looked up as I approached, his eyes shadowed in the fading light. You came. I crossed my arms. What happened at the gala? His jaw tightened. Natalia told you. No. She just made sure I knew there was something to tell. I stepped closer. So tell me. For a long moment he just stared at me. Then, I knew. The words landed like a blow. Knew what? That you loved me. His voice was rough. Before the contract. Before the wedding. That night at the gala. You thought we'd never spoken, but we had. Years before. You just didn't remember. My breath caught. What? We met at a charity auction. You were 18, wearing this ridiculous yellow dress. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. You argued with me for 20 minutes about overpriced champagne. I searched my memories, but nothing. I didn't remember, I whispered. I did. His gaze burned into mine. And when I saw you again at the gala, I knew. I knew you'd fallen for me and He broke off, running a hand through his hair. I walked away. The admission hung between us, sharp as glass. Why? Because I was a coward. His voice cracked. Because my father would have destroyed us both if I'd pursued you. Because I thought. He swallowed hard. I thought you deserved better. The world tilted. All this time. All the years I'd spent pining, thinking he didn't see me. He had. And he'd walked away. And the contract? My voice trembled. At first it was just business. He stepped closer. But the moment I saw you at that table, I knew I was screwed. Because nothing about this has ever been fake for me. The air between us crackled. I wanted to believe him. But, prove it. Cole didn't hesitate. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a single sheet of paper. Our marriage contract. And then right there in front of me he tore it in half. The 2 years aren't up, I whispered. I don't care. His eyes locked onto mine. I'm not letting you go. And then he kissed me. Not for the cameras. Not for the contract. But because he wanted to. The morning after. I woke to sunlight streaming through the windows of Cole's penthouse. Our penthouse now. He was already awake, propped up on one elbow, watching me with a softness I'd never seen before. Morning, he murmured, brushing a strand of hair from my face. I smiled. Hi. His thumb traced my lower lip. Still mad at me? Terrifyingly in love with you, actually. His breath caught. Say that again. I love you. He kissed me slow and deep before pulling back just enough to whisper against my lips. Marry me. I froze. What? Not for a contract. Not for business. His eyes burned into mine. Just because I can't imagine my life without you. Tears pricked my eyes. Cole. Say yes. I didn't hesitate. Yes. Epilogue. 2 years later. The second wedding was nothing like the first. No cameras. No contracts. Just our closest friends and family in a sunlit garden, Cole's hands trembling as he slid a new ring onto my finger. I love you, he whispered, his voice raw. More than anything. I kissed him, my husband, my real husband, and knew without a doubt that this was forever. Later, as we danced under the stars, I pressed my cheek to his chest. Remember when you said this was just business? He laughed, low and warm. Biggest lie I've ever told. I smiled. And then I kissed him again. Bonus chapter. Cole's POV. The first time I saw her. She was arguing with a waiter over champagne. That was my first real memory of Stephanie Williams, 18 years old, in a yellow dress that was too bright for the stuffy charity auction, her nose scrunched in outrage as she hissed, "This is not worth $200 a glass." I should have walked away. I didn't. It's not about the champagne, I said, leaning against the bar beside her. It's about the tax write-off. She turned, her hazel eyes sharp. So rich people overpay for bad wine to avoid paying taxes? Yes. That's stupid. I laughed. Actually laughed, which startled both of us. You're not wrong. She studied me for a long moment, then held out her hand. Stephanie Williams. Cole Daniels. Her fingers were warm in mine. And just like that, I was screwed. The gala. 5 years later, I saw her again. The Met Gala midnight, her red dress like a splash of blood against the white marble. She was laughing with a group of friends, her head thrown back, her smile brighter than the chandeliers. I couldn't look away. Then she turned, and her gaze locked onto mine. For one terrifying second, I thought she recognized me. But her eyes flickered away, uninterested. He didn't remember. I told myself it was better this way. It wasn't. The contract. When my father proposed the merger and the marriage clause, I almost refused. Then I saw the name. Stephanie Williams. And I knew. This was my chance. Not for the company. Not for the money. For her. The wedding. She looked beautiful in white. And she hated me. I could see it in the way her smile never reached her eyes, the way she stiffened when I kissed her. It was fine. I'd make her love me. Even if it killed me. The journal. I shouldn't have read it. But when I found the leather-bound book in her nightstand, curiosity got the better of me. And then, Cole Daniels smiled at someone tonight and I wanted to claw their eyes out. He doesn't even know I exist. My hands shook. He remembered. He cared. I nearly woke her right then. Instead I wrote one word. Wrong. The night everything changed. When I kissed her in the kitchen it wasn't for show. When I tore up the contract it wasn't a negotiation. And when she said, I love you for the first time I didn't breathe for a full minute. Is this? Her. This was forever. Epilogue. The second wedding. This time when she walked down the aisle she was smiling. This time when I kissed her it was real. And when she whispered, I love you against my lips I finally believed it. Took you long enough, I murmured. He laughed, bright, loud, alive and kissed me again. And just like that I was 18 again falling for the girl in the yellow dress. But this time I never let go. Bonus chapter. Stephanie's reaction. Title. When I read his journal. The discovery. I wasn't snooping. At least that's what I told myself when I found the black leather notebook tucked beneath Cole's mattress. We'd been married, really married for 6 months now. The contract was long gone, the fake marriage a distant memory. But some habits were hard to break. Like my inability to stay out of his things. I flipped it open. And froze. Stephanie Williams. 18. Yellow dress. Argued about champagne. Never forgot her. The entry was dated 5 years before our wedding. My hands trembled as I turned the page. The gala. Saw her at the Met tonight. Red dress. Still doesn't remember me. Good. Safer this way. Safer? I remembered that night. The way his gaze had burned into me from across the room. The way I'd looked away, too nervous to hold his stare. He'd known me. And he'd let me walk away. The contract. Father proposed the merger today. Said I had to marry her. Didn't tell him I've wanted to since the day we met. The words blurred. All this time I'd thought our marriage was just business to him. But he'd wanted it. Wanted me.